Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey listeners, I'm your host of Local Business Hacks, Carl Case from Referrizer, joined today by Sarah Moudry, Director of Franchise Development for Hand & Stone. Sarah, welcome to Local Business Hacks.
Thank you for having me. I know it's been a pain trying to get me on this thing. It's been a great year. So I'm excited to share everything that's happened.
Amazing. So I'm a member of Hand & Stone. I could speak to the brand, but there's obviously nothing better than coming from you. For those people that haven't heard of Hand & Stone, what is the brand about and how can people get involved?
The brand is about bringing self-care to the community. We are very much community driven and we're a longevity business. So what that means is our first spa that's ever been open in Toms River, New Jersey is still open, and it's in our top 3 KPIs every single week. So what that should say to prospective investors and customers is that when we come into a community, we don't leave and we take care of you.
That's amazing. And as far as territories goes, where can people find a Hand & Stone? Is that only in the US or?
We're in 35 states right now and in Canada. We have 555 locations. And about 1,300 that Boston Consulting Group re-evaluated for us that are going to be coming soon. So we're actively pursuing 1,300 locations in the primary markets across the United States.
How incredible. Well,
very exciting.
Going back to the important things, how do you become director of franchise for a group that has 500 locations? Tell us your story.
It's a long story. So I got my start with the Anytime Fitness brands back in 2007. So almost right before they blew up. The story goes, I was working in Macy's. My aunt came in there. She was working for Anytime Fitness. And I was looking for a new career opportunity out of college. And I interviewed, and then the rest is history. I stayed with Anytime Fitness for 10 years. And I learned so much from those founders and the leadership in that company. I think it was an anomaly. I don't think I'll ever see it again. And so to look back 16 years later, honestly, and go, wow, I was a part of something that was unique, authentic, and they're a $1 billion company today. They have 5,200 franchises across the world in 36 different countries. So that's where I got my start. I would say that I manifested it, or I'm just one lucky gal. I also have a fitness background, health and wellness background, yoga instructor, any sort of holistic modality that's out there. I've tried it. My mission in life is to really just find peace and happiness. And so I'm an advocate of all these new modalities that are coming to our communities.
Amazing. Well, congratulations to you. It's clearly been quite the journey. And now you're sitting at the top in our world. So it's awesome.
When John Tezza interviewed me 2 years ago, it was interesting because it was in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. I was working for a company called Zips Dry Cleaning, which is a one-price dry cleaner. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to stay in this game, I want to be in what I coined the well-being revolution. I really want to be a part of that. And I want to be a part of it on a big level. And so I think that as a woman owning a business now and working with Hand & Stone, who I think is the cream of the crop of franchising, I'm really excited to see where Hand & Stone is going to go, but also what I can learn and how I can help the world just really become a better place.
That's beautiful. Sarah, with that being said, being in this space, keep in mind, a majority of our listeners are in the health, wellness, and recovery world. You're speaking to C-level executives all the way down to employees and potential franchisees of both Hand & Stone and boutique fitness brands, you name it. Yeah. What are some lessons and some stories that you don't mind sharing that maybe you paid the idiot tax or really taught you that lesson that drove something home? What is that? What is some of the stories that come to mind?
Well, the word that comes to mind is rejection. And so we all kind of go through life fearing things, right? And
Yeah.
whatever philosophy or philosopher you want to follow, there's always that sentiment of you have to break through that fear of whatever it is, the fear of the unknown, right? Because 99% of our negative thoughts don't come to fruition. And so when I first started my career in franchising, I was working with a bunch of guys. They're all in their mid 40s and 50s. I was a 26-year-old lady, and I was really intimidated. And I was also really intimidated by talking to prospective franchisees. And so if there's any advice that I could give anyone in the franchising world, in the business world, it's just like love rejection. Because once you make it through so many no's, it literally doesn't faze me anymore. I don't take business personally. I had learned that lesson with my sister as well, because my sister and I opened our first franchise. This is our first franchise business in my big family. So we came together and we had to learn very quickly how to adapt and bob and weave and know that we're not going to be able to sell a membership to everybody. And so that piece I think is really important, just to push through that fear of rejection. The lesson that I've learned in opening a business, which I think is really important, and I wrote a blog about this, about the 10 pieces of advice before opening a hand in stone. And the biggest thing for me is go back to your why. As corny as it sounds, as cliche as it sounds, if you don't have that plan and that why in your brain and in your soul continuously, you'll lose track of where you're headed. My sister and I ran into some really unique situations. We're in an industry that was previously taboo. And so ran into some things where we were like, wow, we could have never prepared for this. And so we couldn't let that hurt us. We couldn't let that hold us back from continuing to succeed. But it was hard. So, you just keep going, okay, this is why we're doing it. We're going to keep pushing through. We understand that there's going to be challenges, but we're with a proven concept with a less than 3% failure rate. And we're going to make this work no matter what.
That's awesome. Sarah, so I want to pick a topic based off of your title, Director of Franchise Development. So I've had guests on the podcast from Title Boxing, UFC gyms, and a lot of boutique fitness studios that are heads of franchise. And people typically talk about what they're looking for or what they're not looking for in a franchisee. What are some things and some tips or tools or softwares that have empowered you to skip through some of the rudimentary tools that people are typically doing? Fill out this form, do an income verification, hire what you can't teach. What are some tips that you would give to people in your position or hoping to one day be in your position that has been an ultimate game changer? Because obviously when you're rightfully so bragging about that first studio and how successful it is, that comes down to both the franchise operations and who you have chosen and allotted that gift of owning and operating a hand in stone. So what are some things that have gotten you to the success point at this point in your career?
So that's a loaded question. So on the franchisor side or the director side, learning how to be authentic and real with every single person and connecting, I've learned, is an art form. Okay. You can have every single tool. You can have an assistant doing pre-vetting your calls or scheduling introduction calls. But if you're not sharp and you're not present on that first call, you're going to lose that client.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, we're talking to people that are going to write out the biggest check they've ever written in their lives.
Yeah.
So I better be healthy, present, aware of what's going on, and just be really focused on their why when I have those conversations. So I think that's really key. I've had COVID, I have a baby, like all these things are going on in our personal lives, but my introduction calls are the most important thing to me. And I think if you could nail that, everything else just comes easily because it's a process that you're putting them through. So.
Yeah. And Sarah, would you say with that art form comes with your own internal feeling initially in that call? You can treat franchise sales in that way, similar to dating,
Absolutely.
within seconds, if that person's a good fit to represent your brand on a scale like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of intuition. Been doing this for a long time. So initially it's the tone. If there's somebody who's canceling their appointments consistently, it's like, how long do you chase somebody? Right. And John Tez, I don't even know if he loves this, but I always say, let's attract, not chase. I don't want to have to go chase my partner, right? I don't want to go chase down somebody who's potentially going to spend $1 million with us. So I think that's really important.
Same thing goes for customers too. We don't want to chase customers to convince them why Hand and Stone over Elements or anybody else, because we want to make sure that they see that value and know that value and attribute that value to Hand and Stone. Goes across.
Well, customer service is number one. My sister calls every single person that complains. We want to make sure that we know what happened, right? You're taking an hour out of your day, and this is supposed to be about self-care. This is supposed to be about self-love. We want you to have the best customer service. And I think Hand and Stone is by far the authority brand when it comes to customer service. And we're going to continue to hang our hat on that.
I love that. Sarah, I got time for one more story if you want to share one. Give me something funny that came up in the franchising space that you've dealt with over the years.
Calls from jail.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. When I was working at Anytime Fitness, we would get weekly calls from people incarcerated saying that once they get out, we're going to own this business and you need to talk to me. We would get handwritten letters consistently about why they should be in Anytime Fitness. So, yeah, we talk to all types. Oh, no, that's what came to mind.
That's a great one. I so appreciate that one. You got me speechless, which is definitely rare.
Yeah. And listen, it's that thing that you said earlier is you treat everybody with respect. And that I think that's part of my success in life is my dad was a janitor. So I treat the janitor like I treat the CEO.
Yep.
And that's been something that has been ingrained in me for a very long time.
I love that. And obviously that comes with where you are today, which congratulations again. So Sarah, from myself and our listeners all over the globe, thank you for hopping on, sharing your story. And how can people get involved with you if they're interested? LinkedIn, what's the best way?
LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, Sarah Moudry, and our website. We have a beautiful franchising website, which I don't know if every single franchise in the world does it, but we have taken a lot of time to put our podcast on there, and we'll promote this on there to write really nice blogs about our employees at the corporate level. So I would spend some time on there first doing some research.
Amazing. Well, Sarah, that's going to be a wrap for today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you chasing me down, but next time I'll come to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Sarah.
Right. Take care.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.